Last month, I presented a couple of interesting ways in which to apply accents to a steady stream of 16th notes to create 5 or 6 note groupings. I then demonstrated how to chain those groupings together to produce some rather tricky sounding syncopations and rhythmic phrasing patterns that go against the grain of the expected 4-note quads. As you recall, I employed a very drummer-like and musically effective rhythm within a rhythm approach. I'd now like to present yet another cool and interesting way to phrase 16th notes in groups of 3, again playing a steady stream of evenly spaced notes while applying shifting accents. And with this pattern, we'll learn about a highly useful rhythmic phrasing scheme known as dotted eighth syncopations. In our first example, I'm going to play steady 16th notes entirely on the A string, using alternate picking and the open string as a rearticulated pedal tone, and hitting the octave higher A note at the 12th fret every third 16th note, starting on beat 1, like this. 1E and a 2E and a 3E and a 4E and a... 1E and a 2E and a 3E and a 4E and a 1E and a 2E and a 3E and a 4E and a 1E and a 2E and a 3E and a 4E and a 1. The result is a highly syncopated 3s on 4s hemiola pattern that has a naturally accented high A note popping at a different spot each time it's played, relative to the underlying beat. As you can see looking at the on-screen tablature, in 4/4 meter that pattern takes 3 bars to complete and come full circle, to the point where that fretted high A note finally falls on beat 1 again. So a beneficial exercise or drill is to practice running through this pattern repeatedly while counting the 16th note subdivisions out loud, 1E and a 2E and a 3E and a 4E and tapping your foot squarely on each beat. Doing so will definitely bolster your skills for playing and feeling rhythmically intense modern musical styles, such as prog rock, fusion, metal, and funk. A cool and more interesting thing you can do with this pattern is add a moving melody line with the fretted notes, as opposed to just repeating that high A note on every accent. So in the next example, I'm going to take the pattern from figure 1 and additionally incorporate a sort of bluesy Dorian chromatic line that walks down the A string, skipping over certain notes, and then back up again. And I'm going to use just enough notes, 16 to be exact, that the line lands on the starting high A note each time I begin it again, like this. Check it out. 1, 2, 3, 4. 1E and a 2E and a 3E and a 4E and a 1E and a 2E and a 3E and a 4E and a 1E and a 2E and a 3E and a 4E and a 1E and a 2E and a 3E and a 4E and a 1E and a 2E and a 3E and a 4E and a 1E and a 2E and a 3E and a 4E and a 1. This line, by the way, kind of brings to mind the double-time outro riff from the song BYOB by System of a Down, which goes like this. 3, 4. So that had some pull-offs in it, and there is a dotted eighth syncopation there. It's brief, but it's there. Now, if we were to go back to this example, figure 2, and remove all those open A notes, and instead just hold each fretted melody note for the duration of 3 16th notes, we're left with this rhythmically sparser but equally syncopated line. 1E and a 2E and a 3E and a 4E and a... 1E and a 2E and a 3E and a 4E and a 1E and a 2E and a 3E and a 4E and a 1E and a 2E and a 3E and a 4E and a 1. This is an example of what's called a dotted eighth syncopation pattern. Regarding the notation, as you recall from a few lessons back, an augmentation dot placed to the right of a note head, a rhythmic tab number, indicates that its duration is increased by 50%, or multiplied by 1.5. And so in 4/4 meter, a dotted eighth note equals an eighth note tied to a 16th note. When crossing beats, however, you need to use a tie instead of a dotted eighth note, just to show the break between the beats via beaming, per the rules of rhythmic notation. By the way, this example kind of reminds me of that super badass bass riff in Jungle Boogie by Kool and the Gang, which goes 3, 4. Finally, as an additional beneficial exercise, play figure 3 again, but this time articulate each fretted note staccato, cutting it short right after picking it using fret hand muting. And thus we're going to add rest between the notes, or holes of silence. So that goes like this. 1E into 2E into 3E into 4E into 1E, a 2E and a 3E into 4E and a 1E and a 2E into 3E and a 4E and a 1E and a 2E and a 3E and a 4E and a 1E and a 2E and a 3E and a 4E and a 1E and a 2E and a 3E and a 4E and a 1E and a 2E and a 3E and a 4E and a 1. Again, be sure to count and tap your foot as you play to maximize the benefit of the drill.